Hello and welcome to the next edition of my podcast today. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by former Wigan Athletic defender and now Sheffield Wednesday defender, Chey Dunkley. Chey's played for Wigan for over 3 years, been a fantastic servant. He scored 13 goals from defence. He's been absolutely outstanding on and off the field, and he's going to join me for an interview today to say goodbye to Wigan fans and open up about the last couple of months at Wigan Athletic. It's been extremely difficult for all of us. At the start of July, when we went into administration, it was the night after we beat Stoke, when we looked all but safe and secured our position in the Championship. And little did we know that we will be playing League One football next season. So, Chey, first and foremost, how's the last few weeks and months been for you? And have you been on a personal level?
It's well, on a personal level, I've been fine. Obviously, coming to the back end of my rehab, I've been working closely with the Wigan physios, Andrew Proctor, Nick Meese, and Matty Potts and Sam Holt, and they've been good to me, to be honest with you. I've been just trying to focus to get back fit, and I'm coming to the back end of that. So that on a personal level, in regards to obviously the situation, it's been very, very hard. I'll be honest with you. In relation to Wigan's situation, has been hard, and I think it's been very difficult for everyone, not just the footballers, the fans, the staff. And some staff that have been relieved of their duties. Do you know what I mean? And you don't want to see that. But it was obviously, it is horrendous what's happened to the club. And believe you me, everybody has felt it.
Obviously, we found out the news in quite a shock way. No one really saw it coming. Did the players have any indication this was going to happen?
Well, of course not. We beat Stoke, and that kind of seen us, virtually safe in the division in the Championship at that point. And all the lads are buzzing in the dressing room, staff are buzzing in the dressing room. So it come as a shock the following day, for the club to just go into administration. Obviously prior that, the lads had already taken deferrals just to help out the club, because it's not a case that we thought it'd go into administration, but because of the pandemic, obviously businesses are going to suffer. So it was not even debated really. The lads said, "Yeah, we'll take the deferrals, no problem." It's we don't want to see go into any bad situation. But for us as players, it was just a case of maintain Championship status, and we did that. So the following day, it was just so bizarre, and when it come out, I was out actually, and you can imagine the WhatsApp group full of the players. It was just so bizarre, and it just was spiraling. We seen, people thought it was a joke at first, because we just literally beat Stoke, and we thought, yeah, that'll probably be enough. But yeah, it was a reality, and how it come about was just shocking, honestly.
Obviously, there's a lot of circumstances behind why we went into administration. Do you kind of feel that the players couldn't have done any more to kind of help? Obviously, we fell short on the final day against Fulham, getting a draw, but in reality, we finished the season 13th on 61 points, positive goal difference, but yet Wigan find themselves playing in League One next season. Just how does that make you feel, and how does that obviously impact the players? Because I know, sorry about that, I know it probably is quite a bit of a sucker punch, because you can't really see it as a massive failure on the pitch, because this is nothing you could control. This is completely out of your hands. You've done your jobs as footballers fighting for the club on the pitch, and it's been tremendous to see as fans, because we've kind of seen that the band of brothers form and get strong over this. And Sam Morsey, obviously your best friend growing up, your best friend now, he's been an inspirational leader, and I think it's been an amazing couple of weeks in terms of unity. But how does it affect a player? Obviously, knowing that you secured Championship football on the pitch, but off the pitch you kind of been punished.
It's gutting for all of us. The lads have done what they had to do on the pitch to stay in the division. And by the way, the aim wasn't just to stay in the division. Of course, it is a success to keep Championship status, but that's what the players have done. So I don't think the players or the staff can be at fault for this. We controlled the controllables and we stayed in the division, and it's very hurtful because it's not all to do with just staying in the division. Obviously, financially, it affects players. To stay in the championship, it's a case of to play at the highest level possible. Well, it's not the highest level, but it's at a very good standard. But also for the players to get relegated, they're also taking the rewards that they would have had is no longer there. They're going to obviously take player cuts, wage cuts. Sorry. So some people could be, are late in there. Sorry.
It's fine. Sorry. It's a dog. I would edit this out, but I think it will be nice for a little bit of comedy value. I think my parents just got back from the Trafford Centre, so this just shows how the new way of doing interviews now. I think if we were sat down in a Starbucks somewhere doing an interview, it'd be very different. But we've currently got an angry German Schnauzer barking at the arrival of his parents. But I'd like to apologise for this and apologise to all the viewers. It just shows that it's a really bizarre time we're living in at the moment. I think with a pandemic, with all that to make changes in our lives, we've not probably expected before. And I just can't believe this is happening, to be honest, and it's still going on.
Nah. Just what I was getting to, really, to pull it shorter. Some of the players are affected, not just emotionally, but obviously financially. We've deserved to stay in the division, and unfortunately, a lot of players' wages are going to get cut now. People might think, they'll still be on good money. However, it might affect people more than that, and it's not fair. But ultimately, for us, it was important to stay in the championship. Wigan's been a yo-yo club from League One Championship, and I thought that we broke that. Not just the players, the staff as well. For us to get promoted to the championship, stay in the division the year before, and we did enough to stay in the division this year. It really does hurt us, and personally for me and a few of the players, it goes down as a relegation, and I don't see it as a relegation. I personally don't. I've never been relegated before, and I don't class it as a relegation because we did enough to stay in the division, and we finished 13th. So it's unfortunate how it's worked and how it's happened, and it really has affected the players.
When something like this happens, obviously being relegated when it was clearly out of your hands, how does it affect the players on a mental health point of view? Because when the club went into administration, the team was doing excellent. The pitch was in the form of our lives almost, and it looked like it was all but safe against Stoke, as we referred to earlier, and now we was fighting for our lives. You need to win every game for a chance to beat the 12-point deduction, which is mandatory by the FL. So how does that play on the players' minds and impact their mental health? Because I know mental health is one of the most important things in our lives. It's the world's biggest silent killer, and it's so important for everyone to be able to speak up and speak out about it, because it is okay not to be okay.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we know that football is a pressured business anyway, and it's a results business. But that added pressure, of course, with the 12-point deduction and to try and win these games, of course, it was gonna it's gonna put pressure on us. But with the spirit that we had in the camp, with the spirit that was shown on the pitch, it's just credit to the lads and the staff, because it could have been easy for us just to go under and feel hard done by, and that wasn't the case. Honestly, we just kind of rolled our sleeves up. The 12-point deduction didn't come straight away, so that even made it a bit harder, because we didn't know mentally, are they going to do it? Are they going to give us a reduced sentence or charge? Sorry, and it was just a case of just say, listen, we've got games here, let's win them, or try. Take it game by game, and we did that. And to be fair, we almost pulled off the unthinkable. And then we were like 1 or 2 points short of it. And yeah, it can take its toll on the player. And it's not good mentally, of course. But We know, aside from that, mental issue, mental health is important, and it is important for players to speak out on it. It's not just in all; it's in every employment. We don't want to see people suffer mentally or have any health issues regarding that. So yeah, if you if anything does happen, or if anyone speaks out on that, they shouldn't feel like they can't speak about it, because it is a big issue.
Absolutely, a lot of times, especially with men, that's where the stigma in mental health is attached to the most. Often, if a man does speak out about their mental health, they are often told man up and things like that of that nature. And I think it's important to kind of show solidarity and be there for each other, because a lot of times with mental health, people just need someone to listen to, and I think that is a massive thing for us. And my question to you is next is, obviously with this happening, it was obviously out of your hands, and did it kind of give you a bit more of a will to fight against it? Because obviously it wasn't really justice on the squad and on the players, and I think it probably gave you a little bit more willpower, if you needed it anyway, to kind of beat it and defy the odds. Because, like you said in your goodbye message on Twitter, we defy the odds, it's in our DNA.
Yeah, listen, we were always going to fight. Like I said to you before, it could have been easy for us to just say, well, we've had deferrals, we're not getting paid. We've got the 12-point deduction, but I think we were just fighting. We were just fighting together. We know how much it means to not just the fans, but to ourselves. We wanted to stay in the Championship. We wanted to do the unthinkable, and it's not. You don't really come by many groups that can do that. And we knew we wanted to. We wanted to stay in the Championship, but we had meetings about it. The skipper pulled us, the staff, the gaffer pulled us, and we had our not individual meetings, but the staff meeting with the players, and then Samorsi pulled all the players. We had a proper speak about it, and literally a case, and we've got a month of football, and we need to make sure that we kind of vote, have a dedication towards this. It's so important for everybody to try and stay in the Championship. Every single game, everyone had a focus. Even players that were involved had a focus. The way how we was moving around the training ground, even the medical staff, they were making sure that nobody was getting affected with the coronavirus, because we knew if one player, he may miss a game because of you'd have to self-isolate. So everyone pulled through together, and we knew how important it was. But yeah, we were fighters, and like you said, back to that band of brothers, I think we were that. But unfortunately, the deduction was happened in League One, so it's not where we wanted the club. Hopefully the club can move on and like I said, defy the odds, because it's been done before. Wigan are a club that will be back in the Championship, and hopefully we're pushing in the Premiership whenever that is. But we need to make sure that we get through this hard time, and when they do get through the hard time, to rebuild again, because they've done it before.
Do you think over the last couple of weeks it's kind of give the players and yourself a new reason and a new meaning behind the crest? Has it kind of changed the way you think of the town? Obviously, the fans have been outstanding throughout this in terms of fundraising, message of support, and I think it's kind of. Brilliant. I know fans sometimes may not agree who starts at 3 p.m. on a Saturday, but they definitely all want the best for the town.
Yeah, of course. I think I can only speak on a person. Every time I played for Wigan, and it's not just Wigan, just previous club, just try my hardest, not just for the fans, but for myself. I just try and be dedicated to whatever I'm doing. But I feel like that was throughout the whole camp. So I don't know if it actually changed. I don't think this pandemic or the 12 points deduction was a case of oh, now we really need to work hard. I think the boys were working hard anyway. We know that the Championship is a hard division. We had that experience the year before. To be honest with you, not results aren't going to always go for you, and we saw that in the first part of the season. You know, we went ahead in many games, and maybe that could be to do with a bit nerves. I don't, but I don't think anybody can look at it and say that we were trying our hardest before the pandemic. I think things just clicked. Maybe it gave us that extra motivation to push on, but you know, knowing the boys and knowing the lads and knowing the staff, you know, there was never ever going to let like one player or a few players just take their foot off the pedal. We wanted to finish as high as possible, and you know, it was an improvement from the following year because we finished 13th rather than, I think it was 17th. It might have been lower than that, but then this season, so it's kind of hard to take because we've been relegated, but we've actually done better than what we've done the season before. So yeah, it's quite a weird one.
Obviously, in the season, in the second half, at least in 2020, we've had some amazing wins at Leeds United, West Brom in the final away game before the pandemic struck. I know Sam Morsey particularly enjoyed his goal against the Baggies, being a Wolves supporter. And I know you're a Wolves supporter as well, so I think you'd have enjoyed that one too. But yeah. I think it's really hard to take. And do you kind of, will you always look back on this part of your career with a bit of fond memories in a way of how the players have all come together, fought as one, and really done the town proud? Because, I mean, we've got to remember that in a time where the players obviously aren't getting paid, or at least aren't getting the full wage, they set a record-breaking win against Hull City, 7-0 at half-time. Kieran Dowell with one of the best finishes I've seen in the second half with the 8 goals. Kiefer Moore on fire. Yeah. Obviously, he's departed to Cardiff City now. Kieran Dowell's at Norwich now, I believe, and obviously it's just been remarkable as a fan to see the unity. And I think the one thing that I always remember is the QPR game, which we won 1-0 with Kiefer Moore scoring. At the final whistle, you can hear on the audio stream we was all watching. Obviously, we can't be at the game. You can hear the shouts and the screams from the players in delight, and I think that gave a lot of fans goosebumps. And before I ask a question, I'd just like to thank all the players, because the fans have been so proud, more proud than we've ever been. I've often said I've been more proud recently than when we won the FA Cup, because this is actually like winning the FA Cup 10 times over.
It's been a pleasure to play with some of the players that you've said and the whole squad. But yeah, like, you know, there's a few standout performances, you know, like the one against Hull, of course, and it wasn't always downs in this season. It's quite a weird one, like I said, because I don't feel like, I've not had a relegation on my CV. Touch wood, that doesn't happen again. But I don't class it as a relegation because we've done enough to sustain a division. But the players did their part. So, and that's why you know the likes of Kiefer, Carroll, and, you know, I'm sure there might be one or two more people that might be departing Wigan, unfortunately, but the team's littered with quality. So, you know, it's a shame such a team be broken up, because I think the gap has over the 2 years built a team that maybe with another could have pushed on to the playoffs and pushed on to go automatic, towards that. He did really towards that. So it's just a shame to see some of the players depart. And, you know, that unfortunately that might still happen because it's a case of raising funds for the club to maintain the club to go on. So yeah, it is a shame, but we have had some good moments.
Absolutely, and like you said, a few players will probably have to move on due to obviously having release clauses in the contracts, and I think it's safe to say, and I think you definitely agree, every player that at Wigan Athletic is too good for League One. They've proven it. You stayed up comfortably. I believe I fully agree with you. Actually, I think we'll be pushing for playoffs this time next year if we didn't go into administration, because you could just see the talent of the squad, because we were playing against the top teams in the division, but we weren't just matching them. We was often outplaying them at times. The games at Leeds, West Brom. I remember West Brom at home as well. We outplayed them too, and I think it's been outstanding, and it's staggering this has happened to this football club.
Yeah, I don't want to speak too much about West Brom because I've got family members that do support them, and I don't want to upset them anyway. But now we did play well against some of the big teams, like you said, Leeds, West Brom, and others. You know, it's again, no one could ever say, no one's got a golden ball to see if we would have got playoffs, but the belief was there definitely, and we did have a good squad, and it would have only got stronger. So, you know, I do think that we probably would have pushed on. We made an improvement from the year before, and I feel we would have improved. But I think it's only something we can only speak about now, rather than do, because, you know, some players have obviously left Wigan. So, you know, I think now at the moment it's just to get there, and when the club does get through the hard times, just to rebuild. And like I said, I think I'm sure we'll see Wigan back in the Championship and trying to fight into the Premiership sooner or later.
Absolutely, and we've mentioned players depart. We also found that Paul Cook has resigned from his position as manager. When did you find out, and what is your thoughts on this? Obviously, Paul's been he was actually Paul Cook's first signing at Wigan, and he's been at the club for 3 years now. And I think in what he's done over the last few weeks alone, yet alone the Man City win, the Doncaster League title win, he's gone down as a club legend for how he's been, his character, even during the pandemic too, applying for a job at Asda, getting turned down, which is a bit of a laugh, but it's a really nice gesture too.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, first and foremost, like you said, the gaffer's done a tremendous job over the 3 years at the club. Promotion, obviously the FA Cup run, the big Man City win, obviously, and he's in you know, up twice. So rightfully so, he goes down. You know, it wasn't nice to see him leave, but I feel like that was done out of, you know, for the best for the club. You know, as well as players may have to leave, I think the gaffer probably looked at it and thought, you know, I may have to leave as well to just to kind of keep the club up, and that's how I think that's how it should be looked at, because, you know, he's definitely has the club at heart, and, you know, it was very just disappointing to see, you know, him go, because he's been in what's happened at Wigan in the last few years, and I'm sure he would have built something big, you know, and I felt, like I said, we probably would have pushed on towards that playoffs, and, you know, he's a big character, and it was hard to see him leave, but it was for the best for the club, because I feel like you said, there's players that are going to leave, and it's to help the club. It's not to, you know, it's not to just leave to leave it in a bad way. It's just, you know, at this moment, the club is you know, it's just floating. We're waiting for an owner to come in and buy the club, and, you know, it's about maintaining debts, or like not maintaining debts, so we're getting rid of debts rather than adding towards it. So yeah, you know, aside from that, I think he should be held up as a legend, because he, over the last few years, the gaffer and his staff as well, and some of the staff are still at the club, have been tremendous, and have done everything that they could to do what we've kind of achieved at Wigan. So yeah,
I think it's something you could look back on in 20 years' time I'm really proud of, because it's been really inspirational for all the fans. And obviously, we've mentioned players move on. You have now joined Sheffield Wednesday. How difficult was the decision to leave Wigan? Obviously, we cannot obviously use out of contract in the following last month, I believe. And I understand players. I think it often goes unnoticed by fans that players have normal commitments, like a normal 9-to-5 job. You've got mortgages to pay, obviously, family to look after, and it is a big decision for you and your future as well.
Well, it was always hard to leave Wigan because in January times we were in negotiation and things were gonna. It was just a case of literally getting things sorted, but the pandemic happened, so it was a case of, okay, we don't know what's happening. And then when we did and we were, playing games, it was back on. We were gonna sort it and get it all sorted, and I was happy to stay. But then what happened? Unthinkable happened. It was like some of the staff that were negotiating contracts get relieved of their duties. So it's all ownership on the administrators, and I know that they've been brought in to keep the club afloat. They've got one agenda. They're not looking to give contracts. Why no one has signed a new contract even now, and that's with the players who are out of contract. So it got to a point where it was really meant to get signed a long time ago, but if anybody knows about football, negotiations aren't just quick and just the next day. And not just about the contract and negotiation, it also goes off what's actually happening at the club. It's all right to sort out a contract, but at the time it was a case of, can we just stay up? My thoughts not even thinking about the contract. I'm thinking, well, especially when I'm fit, let's just make sure that we stay up. Everything else will look after itself. And I was actually, I thought I was actually confident that it was actually going to get sorted, but then the unthinkable happened, and it was a case of I'm waiting, got left in limbo. Not just myself, everybody. There's a lot of people that are still in limbo. It's like, well, what's going on? No communication, whatever. And I understand that as well. I do understand it's not normal times at the moment. And it's, I had a lot of interest from other clubs, and it comes to a point where one, you have to, and then two, you can't wait any longer. The season is almost. I think the season started the 12th of September, so kind of forced into a decision, to be honest with you, and that's how it kind of happened. Unfortunately, I didn't get it all sorted at Wigan, and then I ended up signing for a big club, a massive club in Sheffield Wednesday. They showed interest, and it wasn't really a hard decision. The gaffer is a top gaffer. He had his vision. I believe in the vision, and it's a real good club when it gets going. So the opportunity that was brought to me, it kind of was. It was an easy decision with what was happening at Wigan. The fact that there was no contract there, because when there was a contract there, it got taken away because of, well, we can't actually give out contracts whilst we're in financial issues. So there was no contract there. So naturally, when other people start to put things on the table, you start to look at it, and that's how things happened, really. But I am over the moon to be at Sheffield. Like I said, it is a massive club. There's a vision there, and I believe in it. And I think we'll do well this season.
Obviously, I wish you the best of luck there. You mentioned a really interesting comment there about a lot of players being in limbo, not knowing what's going on. Is this the case for a lot of the first team squad, and obviously the staff too? Because 75 non-playing staff was made redundant, and during the midst of a pandemic too. I know there's never a good time to be made redundant and lose your job, but it's probably the worst time you can lose your job because it's so uncertain.
Yeah, well, I think when I say limbo, it's not just limbo for myself, the players. It's staff. Some staff have been relieved, and it's like, okay, are these staff going to be, re-employed when the owners come in? We don't know. I'd like to think so. There's some people who have been relieved of their duties and they've been at the club for 20 plus years. And that's a big thing. And it's not a nice thing to happen. And this is why I say a lot of people, not just players, are in limbo. My situation I've just explained. There's some current players who I assume, I can only assume, even being on contract, they don't know what's going to happen. We're waiting for an owner. The administration, I'm assuming, are working their hardest to try and get that deal done. And at this moment, nobody knows what's going to happen. We can only. So when I say limbo, it's not just a case of the people who are out of contract. I'm talking about the whole club, staff, players, coaching staff, medical staff. We are at this moment in time, because we don't know, we don't have all the answers. It's a case of what's happening. We don't know what's happening. So yeah, I can only speak on myself on that. But you've done a lot of good interviews with the administrators, and we've got a little bit of information. And again, it's not clear cut. So when I say limbo, I think it is the correct term to say, because nobody knows the answers.
Absolutely. How heartbreaking is this for yourself and all the players? Because I'll be honest, that the fans, as you'd imagine, are absolutely devastated. I feel like, for me, Wigan Athletic have done so well over the last couple of decades to get to where we've been. We've had an 8-year FA Cup spell, 8-year Premier League spell, an FA Cup when we played in the Europa League, and we've kind of had that 20 years of good, excellent work torn apart in a few weeks. And can you kind of relate to that, and can you almost connect to the fans of that point of view?
It's heartbreaking. It's a family-run club, and that, even in times where we weren't on good runs, they stuck by us, and I really felt that support. Of course, you're not going to be for everyone. There's a lot of fans that are for you, and there's a lot of fans that aren't for you, and that's football. And I understand that. I'm a fan myself. Sometimes I slag off players that the players that I support. Do you know what I mean? So I understand that. I get that. But for the most part, they were with us, and we do feel that connection with the club, and I still feel that connection with the club. I will still follow the club. Moving on. Although I'm at Sheffield, I do follow the clubs that I've been at: Oxford, Wigan, Minster, Hensford. I do. It's just a natural thing, and you do find that you do get that connection with the club, and it is heartbreaking. What's happened at this club. It's I can't really. It's not nice. It's not very nice what's happened, and unfortunately, it's almost like for things to change, we're kind of getting made an example of. So, we might have to take the punishment, so then this does not happen to another club again. It sounds really bad, but that's the reality of it. But yeah, you're right. We do have a connection with the club. All the players have a connection with the club. All the staff have the connection with the club. And I think the fans saw that in the last month, the last 2 months that were played.
Absolutely. How do you think football kind of needs to change and prevent this from happening to another club? Because obviously in a pandemic now, we don't know when fans can come into the stadium. I know they've rumoured October time, but lower league clubs like the National League, League 2, League 1, without fans, it's really hard for them to run, because in football, fans are the biggest source of income, because it's not only buying a ticket at games, it's obviously buying your programmes, your pies, your football shirts, 22 Dunkley on the back, and it's all that kind of thing. And how difficult is it? And do you think, obviously, the FA, Premier League need to do more to protect lower league clubs in times of trouble and pandemics? Because at the moment, Wigan, there's a few clubs at the moment.
So I've lost you there, Jay.
It's going to keep on happening
unless
change is made.
Yeah, I just lost you there, but I got the question. It's hard for the EFL. I mean, like, how are they meant to anticipate a pandemic? I don't think they can, to be honest with you. Well, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know enough to have an opinion on how things can change. I'm sure they will learn. I'd like to think they will learn from this situation moving forward, which I'm sure they will. But I don't have the answers for that. All I know is that the result of what's happened. So, Wigan's going to be in League One, and how it come about is it doesn't look good. But it's hard for them to anticipate a pandemic, to be honest with you. It's very hard. So it's hard for me to answer that question. I'm not too sure. You can't really point fingers. I don't think I have all the information about. Yeah, I don't think I've got all the information as well to kind of say, oh, well, it's that person's fault or that person's fault. I think everyone I'm sure they did well. I'm sure they did what they thought was right. And ultimately, it's ended up with this happening, which you don't like to see. But I feel that in the future, something may have to change just to protect clubs. I think they are working towards that. I know there's a salary cap that's happened in League One and League Two, and that's just for financial. But I'm talking about, the way how clubs are transferred over and stuff like that. I'm sure they may look into that. I'm not too sure, but it's hard to point any finger at anyone. Who's responsible, who gives over the papers. Is it here? But it's hard to do that, and I don't think it's my right to really speak on that because I don't have all the information to actually say who's who. But yeah, hopefully something changes. Hello? Can you hear me? I think I've lost you again, Jay.
To blame it. No problem.
You're back now. Hello?
We're currently suffering a slight. I think we're back now, Chey.
We're
just suffering a bit of a technical issues, which we do have over Skype, unfortunately. But it is important not to point the fingers. And I'd like to ask, obviously, the administrators have set a deadline for the 31st of August for new buyers to sign the non-disclosure agreement. What would be your message to Wigan fans over the next couple of weeks? And are you optimistic that the club can find a buyer to secure the club's long-term future?
I am optimistic. We can only have a little bit of trust in the administrators that they're saying what they are saying, and there is a potential buyer. But all I can do is have fingers crossed and hands together that a buyer does come in and literally gets the club back on track. Because once the club's back on track and they do get past this hard time or this weird time, then I can see the club just leveling itself out and then hitting the grounds running to try and get back into the Championship and keep going up the leagues. But of course, as an ex-player, I want to see the club exist. I want it to still be here, and there's a lot of history before myself at the club. A lot of people that have the club at heart, not just myself. So it's important that Wigan Athletic stay alive, and hopefully, touch wood, there is a buyer soon.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your interview today. It's been excellent to hear from you. I wish you all the best at Sheffield Wednesday. To end the interview, it's been very hard hitting this interview. We can't really sugarcoat a situation like this. It's very difficult and tough for everyone involved, but this final question will hopefully lift a few spirits. Would you be able to mention or tell a story of your funniest moment, if you can pick one, of being at Wigan Athletic? Maybe unheard of.
funniest moment at Wigan Athletic. No, I don't want to share it. I don't want to share it. Nah, I don't. It's maybe an inside joke between the lads and something like that. But no, it's been a great time. I've enjoyed my time at the club. Not, it's not the way how I wanted it to end by all means, but it might have been the best thing for both parties, really. Moving on and going forward. That's all I can end it on. Yeah.
Absolutely, and thank you so much. You can see the banter's definitely there in the squad. We'll hopefully find out one day. Chey, it's been fantastic to get to know you over the years you've been at Wigan too. On a personal level, you've been amazing with me, and obviously coming on to do the interviews. You don't have to take the time out of your day to come in and talk to the podcast, but you've been more than obliging, and I really do thank you for that.
No problem.
And I'd like to thank you on behalf of the fans too for not only the efforts on the pitch, off the pitch, and your service for the club. We wish you all the best, and I know we'll be looking out for Sheffield Wednesday results and hopefully seeing a few Dunkley goals and clean sheets at both ends. But so thank you so much for coming on. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys later.
Top man, I'll see you later. Bye.